Did you know that there is no legal definition for an ordinary share? And that means that as a consequence, we can, within reason, create any type of share that we want. So in this video, we will be discussing what are ordinary shares usually. But make sure to stay until the end of the video to find out what other interesting and creative rights and restrictions you might want to attach to your shares. If you're new, let me very quickly introduce myself. I'm Malcolm Zoppi, an English qualified solicitor and the managing director of Gaffney Zoppi, my law firm. And on YouTube, my goal is to make business law easy. Amazing. Now let's jump straight into it. What are ordinary shares? Ordinary shares are the most common type of share, and they're usually created or issued when you're setting up or incorporating your limited company. Now, ordinary shares typically have the right to vote and the right to dividends. And when it comes to dividends, as I'm sure you know, it is the right to receive a percentage or a proportion of the profits of that limited company. So the ordinary share is really quite ordinary. It's not very exciting or novel. So what we're going to do now is discuss how to make it a little bit more creative and bespoke to your specific needs. But before we do, make sure to subscribe to the channel to continue to receive to the point, pragmatic and practical legal information. Also, if you want professional legal advice from a qualified solicitor, make sure to reach out. I have my contact details in the description below. So now we're going to be discussing my favorite top 3 kinds of rights or restrictions that we might want to attach to a class of shares or a type of share. The first is drag-along rights. Now, what is drag-along? Drag-along rights give the shareholder, the holder of a share that has drag-along rights, the right to drag along everyone else. But what does that mean? Let me explain. If enough people are willing to sell their shares to a third party, then those willing sellers can enforce and drag along everyone else in the company to also sell their shares to that third party. So you might want to consider adding drag along rights to your shares if you are a majority shareholder of your company and your plan and your goal in the future is to exit the business by, for example, selling to a private equity firm. The second right is tag-along rights. Now these are similar but different. This is how tag-along rights work. If enough people are willing to sell to a third party, the people who haven't been offered to sell their shares to that third party can decide to tag along to also sell their shares to that third party. So this might be especially interesting if you are an investor and you will have a minority stake in the company and want to make sure that if one day there is an exit, you are part of that exit and you get to recoup your investment and more. If you're an investor, you will be very interested in this third right, which is the anti-dilution provisions. Now, anti-dilution provisions make it so that if the company in which you have invested is going to have more funding rounds and is going to issue more shares to more investors, then those provisions allow you to maintain the percentage of shares that you initially held because it compels the company to give you more shares at no extra cost. If instead you are a founder of the business, then you might be interested in this bonus expert tip. What I like to do for my founder clients is make sure that their shares are recognized as a separate class of shares. Now, this is where it gets interesting. That class of shares is going to have the exclusive right to vote on specific matters. This means that even if you as the founder continues to issue more shares to raise more funds for your company, and as a result, the percentage of the shares that you hold in the company decreases, it doesn't automatically mean that you lose control of your company. Instead, so long as you're a holder of that class of shares, then you will be able to vote on those specific matters. Amazing, but how do we go about actually creating these different classes of shares with these different rights and restrictions? And how do we do it legally in compliance with the Companies Act 2006? Well, watch this video right now to find out.